Welcome to EdNews Now. My name is EJ Carrion, and I'm your host, and we're excited that you have showed up to this YouTube channel. Our goal with this YouTube channel is that there is tons of news out there that is really focused on the financial markets, and we believe as much as financial systems and capitalism and Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, Financial Times, and all that good stuff is important, there is a subset of us who really want to also look at it from an equity lens and an education lens. And how are we building up young people for the future of education as the labor force is transforming and adapting, and we need to build these lifelong learners to compete in a global society. So that's our goal here at EdNews Now. And so we'll share different articles, interviews, and research with different institutions and different experts. And I'm just excited to get this started again. We were planning to start much earlier in the school year, but now we're in September and we're able to get started, and I'm pumped for it. Shout out to our team for making this happen. Now, the story that I want to hit today is about the gender enrollment disparities in college enrollment. Now, at the close of the 2020-2021 academic year, women made up 59.5% of the college students. This is an all-time high. So this means that 40.5% of students enrolled in college were men. Now, this is data from the National Clearinghouse, and I learned about this information in a Wall Street Journal article that came out September 6th. But what also is important to note is that we had 1.5 million fewer students enroll into college compared to 5 years ago. And of that decline, 71% of the decline were men. Now, in the next few years, if this continues, what you're going to see that there will be, if this rate continues, there will be 2 women earning college degrees for every man. And this was a direct quote from the executive director, Douglas Shapiro of the National Clearinghouse. But let's go ahead and look at the article, because there's an awesome graph that I think is so cool to kind of give you a true showcase of the problem here and why we should be discussing this more. And I know it's difficult to discuss this because we're talking about a group of people who often benefited from privilege when it came to our history. And I think that's why it's been difficult to have a conversation around this, and how do we fund or support these kind of challenges that the Wall Street Journal article so beautifully communicated. So let's go ahead and get you to the graph, and then we're going to kind of highlight the graph for you here really quickly. Let me zoom in. You should be able to see it. There it is. All right. So the graph shows you 4 different income levels. And in all income levels, what you're going to see is the difference between college enrollment by gender and then by race. The white race is kind of this like reddish pink. The light blue is black. The bright blue is Asian. The dark blue is Hispanic. And the gray is all. And then what you're also seeing, that if the circle is full, that is the men enrollment. And if the circle is just white and it just has the border, that is female. So if you look at the lowest income level here, the $45,360 or less, you see the bright red circle as a little under 40% on college enrollment. Now, if you link that to the females in the same race category, so look at the bright red circle, you're looking over 60% of women who are white who fall into that income level go to college. Look at that divide. That is bigger than any other race category. Pretty remarkable stuff that's being shown here. Now, what's also the kickier here, though, white men's enrollment rate isn't much higher and is often lower than minority men in the same income group. You truly see that in the lowest income level here. If you look at the 45,000 to 82-ish thousand, you're also seeing that Black, Hispanic men have more enrollment, higher enrollment numbers. And so, but what's really crazy and something I find interesting here is the gap between Black and Asian men compared to white men in the highest income level, right? If you look at the highest income level, You see that big red circular kind of dot there. And that shows that 70% of students in that income level that identify as a male from a white race go to college. But if you look at the highlighted part there and you look at the light blue and the bright blue circles, over 85% of those students who are male, who identify as black or Asian, go to college and enroll in the college. That's a huge gap. And I think this shows an interesting conversation. So let me bring myself up here. So what does this mean, right? What does this mean? Honestly, this information is relatively new. And I think it's kind of showing that I think there's some distrust with the higher education system for men. Maybe the increase of debt. Then you're also having the story around the different things that are going on in society. If you look at the fame of it, what it looks like to be an entrepreneur or the next Mark Zuckerberg. So you might have this like college dropout hero story going on. And you also have like Robinhood and Bitcoin. And there's just a lot of these new wave, new era things out there that people see as viable career paths. And so I'm just thrown back by these numbers, but I think they're interesting to see and to look at. And to be honest, it's a discussion we should be having more of. Why are men, specifically white men, not enrolling into college? Now, there's several ways where you can spin it, and I'm interested to know your thoughts. But I kind of think about it going back to my time going to college. I mean, when I applied for scholarships, one of the scholarships I got was the Bill Gates scholarship, a full ride scholarship to go to school. And what it showed, let me get my Zoom. What it showed was that Bill Gates scholarship gave 50% of their money to minority men and 50% of it to minority women, first generation college students. But already we were seeing that 8 of every 10 first generation kid of color enrolling into college. I mean, back when I was applying like 14, 15 years ago, you were seeing that 8 of every 10 was a woman. And so I was technically only going against the men of color who were first generation. So that means if I simply was a female, I would have been going against 4x the amount of applications. And so as a kid who was relatively average, didn't graduate in the top 25%, had very subpar ACT scores, I somehow had the privilege of winning the Bill Gates scholarship. And so that changed my life. And how do we allow men to see scholarships and higher ed as a viable path again? I'm not sure. But this was an amazing, amazing story. I'm going to link it in the description. Would love to know what you think. And I'm going to be keeping up and just exploring what other people say about this story to just get an idea of what are some of the indicators and the hypotheses out there of why this is happening, not just with the lowest income level of kids, but even the highest. Thank you for watching EdNews Now. Looking forward to seeing you on the next video.